Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, I am Fallen Babe, and on this channel we talk about foot fetish, shame, confidence, self-respect, emotional patterns, and how to stop letting this part of your life quietly control more of your life than it should. And I want you to stay with me until the end of this video because if you have been feeling trapped in a cycle that leaves you ashamed, drained, isolated, or divided inside of yourself, this video is going to help you understand what may actually be going on. So today we're talking about something that you guys definitely need to hear. Your fetish is probably not the real problem. The shame loop is. But before we get into this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And if you get real value from these videos and you want to support me in making more of them, please consider supporting the show with a small donation on Patreon. And if you have not downloaded my Kink Shame Exit Kit yet, it is linked in the description below. It is there to help you begin untangling these patterns in a real and practical way. Cool, so now let's get into it. A lot of people think they're either too horny, they think that they need to get rid of their fetish at any cost. They think that this part is ruining their life, or they just need more discipline. But after reading so many of your emails and messages, I really don't think those are the deepest problem. Because what I keep seeing is not desire, it's a pattern. And that pattern usually contains a few things. It contains shame, it contains secrecy, loneliness, ritual, temporary relief, and the inevitable crash that comes afterwards. That is the loop. And once something becomes a loop, it's no longer just about what turns you on, guys. It's about what your mind has learned to do when discomfort appears. So for a lot of people, this is not sexual anymore. It became emotional, a way to soothe anxiety, to escape loneliness, to fill empty time, to avoid difficult emotions and create a sense of control, or just get fast relief without real vulnerability. That is why the pull feels so strong. It's not because the desire, that the fetish is stronger than you. Most of the time, it's just because the behavior is doing more than turning you on. It is regulating you. And making the difference between these two matters a lot, because if something is helping you cope with stress, boredom, shame, frustration, or disconnection, then trying to fix it with pure force doesn't work for very long. And that's why people say, I'm done with it, this is the last time, I want to get serious now, or I want to get my life together. But then when the trigger hits, they're right back at it. Why? Well, because discipline alone fails when the behavior is serving an emotional function. And if you do not understand what this ritual is doing for you, then you are trying to remove the behavior, but without replacing the function. And that is what creates that feeling of fragmentation, of being at war with yourself. One part of you wants dignity, discipline, confidence, and connection, while the other part wants relief. And listen, if you ignore the relief part, it's going to win in the moments of weakness. And that doesn't mean you're weak or broken. It just means that the pattern has been trained into your brain. But the good news is that, yes, patterns can be changed. But in order to do that, first you need to become really aware of them and see them with clarity. So let's talk about triggers now. Because a lot of you are not dealing with just random urges. You are dealing with conditioned moments. And these patterns usually come when you're either alone in the morning or you're having the house to yourself, You're staying in bed late at night, or you finished work and you're feeling empty. You're scrolling when you feel bored or disconnected, or stress, followed by the urge to just disappear and forget about everything for a second. And this is important because once your brain links a certain emotional state or time of the day to a ritual, your body starts leaning towards that behavior automatically. So that means you don't really have a choice. So when people say, I don't even know how it happens, often what really happens is this. You just got the cue showed up, the old pattern got activated, and the ritual began. That is why some of you feel like the urge is stronger than your intention. So the real issue here is not weakness, guys. The real issue is just repetition. Because the more you repeat a ritual, the more embedded and the more automatic it becomes. Now, I want to talk about another part of this that I think is even deeper than people realize. Some of you told me this: saving content, hoarding it, collecting it, building secret folders, repeating the same patterns. A lot of people think that that's just obsession, but sometimes it's more than just that. Sometimes that saving behavior creates an illusion of control, of possession, of certainty and emotional safety, of access without rejection, and a private world that feels easier than in real life. Sometimes it becomes really sticky. And it's because it's not about sexual stimulation, but it becomes something you return to when life feels uncertain, disappointing, overwhelming, or empty. But here's the problem. The more emotionally dependent you become on this private ritual, the weaker you feel in real life. And that is where the damage starts showing up outside the bedroom. Because this pattern doesn't just stay in one area of your life. No, it leaks into other areas too. And that's how it affects your confidence, your social ease, your motivation, your self-respect, even your relationships and the ability to connect with real people. Or even worse, your identity as a man. That is why I keep saying that for many of you, the problem is not the fetish in itself. We're talking about a deeper wound, and that is what this loop is doing to your life. What you're saying is not really, I want to watch less porn. What you're really saying is, I want my confidence back. I want to be disciplined. I want to stop feeling weird around women. I want to stop wasting my energy. I want to feel clean in my own mind. I want to respect myself again, and I want my life back. This is the real cry underneath these messages. Now let's go deeper. This shame did not start recently. It usually starts early. And it may come from things like feeling different, exposed, humiliated, ridiculed, being afraid of being found out, caught, believing that this part of you makes you defective in some way. And once shame gets fused with desire, this whole thing becomes much heavier. Because it's not just about attraction, now it's attraction mixed with fear, mixed with desire and secrecy and pleasure, mixed with self-judgment. And see, that creates a split inside a person. One part wants closeness, confidence, connection, maybe even love, why not? While the other part wants to hide, wants to be numb, to escape, and just stay inside a private ritual. That split is what drains you. I know what it feels to feel divided inside yourself. Yeah, I've experienced that too. Shame distorts your self-image. It makes you feel smaller than you actually are. It makes you want to hide and think that the answer is either suppression or indulgence. But the real healing is none of those. The real healing starts with seeing things for what they are and truth. And most importantly, it starts with asking yourself better questions. Not just, why is this happening to me? Why I was born this way? Or how can I just stop? You can ask yourself, what am I feeling right now before I go into the loop? What does this behavior give me emotionally? What am I actually avoiding? What is this costing me in real life? What kind of person am I becoming through this kind of repetition? And is this actually helping me or just helping me escape for a short time? Just relieving me? Now, those questions are not easy, but they are extremely powerful because now you're not just fighting a behavior. You are discovering the function of the behavior. And once you see the function, you can begin to break the loop. So what actually helps you in this matter? Here's where I think the real work begins. First, catch the pattern earlier. Do not just wait until you're deep into the ritual. Start noticing the early signs. What time is it? What mood are you in? What happened right before? What are you craving emotionally? Then second, stop glorifying secrecy. Secrecy feeds shame, and shame feeds compulsion, and compulsion keeps the loop alive. Then, third, build other ways to regulate yourself. That might include movement. Add some structure to your life. Get out of isolation. Reduce pointless doom scrolling. Doing hard things on purpose. Getting more involved in real life and creating routines that build self-respect instead of draining it. And then stop expecting a different identity from the same life structure. That is big because a lot of people want freedom from the ritual, but they're still living inside the same emotional environment that made the ritual so attractive in the first place. Emptiness, isolation, passivity, lack of direction, and need for quick relief. Something in life has to become stronger than that. Your structure, your standards, your self-respect has to become stronger. And also your ability to tolerate discomfort without making yourself comfortable being uncomfortable. It's not going to happen. That is how change starts becoming real, not through empty promises to yourself, but through actions and behavior. Because self-respect is built through that action. You build it when you actually keep a promise to yourself. When you do something to interrupt a pattern. When you choose to see the reality over your desire to numb yourself, to sedate yourself. And you build it when you face discomfort without immediately trying to run away from it. That is how you form a different identity. And yeah, that's not gonna happen like that. But if you keep taking small steps repeatedly, you will see an improvement. And if you are realizing that this video describes you accurately, listen, you are not disgusting, you are not beyond help, and you are not doomed to live inside this pattern forever. However, you do have to stop minimizing what this loop is doing. Because if a behavior is quietly making you more ashamed, more disconnected, and more passive and isolated, then it deserves honest attention. And I'm not talking about guilt, suppression, or another empty promise. No, I mean real attention, honest attention, really taking a look at this. And if this video gives you clarity, please give it a like and subscribe. And again, if these conversations bring you value and you want to help me keep making more of them, consider supporting our show with a small donation on Patreon. That support helps me continue creating content that actually goes deeper than surface level advice. And if you are ready to start working on this more intentionally, download the Kink Shame Exit Kit below. It is there to help you begin the process in a more practical way. Now, I want to say something extremely important. Your desires are not necessarily the enemy. You're never gonna hear me telling you that liking what you like or being a sexual being is bad. But what I am saying is that if shame fuses itself to your sexuality and then coping patterns fuse themselves to that shame, the results can definitely run your life. That is why this work matters. And I'm not saying you're trying to become perfect or pure, but just because you deserve to live a life that is bigger than this loop that keeps you stuck. You deserve to feel clear-minded. You deserve to be confident enough to be more sociable, to be emotionally stronger, less ruled by secrecy, and more connected to real life, more at peace with yourself. And listen, that is possible. But it begins when you stop calling the whole thing just a fetish and actually start telling the truth about what is actually happening. For many of you, this is not mainly about lust. It is about regulation. It is about loneliness and shame and what happens when relief becomes more familiar than self-respect. That is the loop. And that is why your fetish is not the real problem. I will keep repeating these things until you get them. The problem is the loop and the pattern. So if I leave you with one question, I want it to be this. What is this behavior doing for me emotionally? And what is it costing me in the rest of my life? That question can change everything for you because you're not just trying to stop. Now you're trying to understand, like really understand. That's how a real change starts. Okay? Now, if this video spoke to you, I want you to comment truth. Just a simple word, truth. That's gonna let me know you watched to the end and that this message hit something real in you. And make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want more conversations like this. If you get value from this channel and want to help me keep creating more of these videos, consider supporting the show with a small donation on Patreon. And if you are ready to start breaking these patterns in a more practical way, download the Kink Shame Exit Kit in the description below. I love you guys and I will see you in the next one. Bye.